Let's say you just watched a really cool video called The Top 10 Things That Ruin Careers. And when you see the list of those top 10 things, you're like, where do I start? Well, that's exactly the question I got from someone who watched the video. I'm not going to say their name, but I'm going to give you a shout out. You know who you are. Thanks for asking. So that's what this video is about. When you see the things that you really want to change, how do you start the change process exactly? Keep watching and you're going to learn how. Hi, my name is Shawn Sommerkamp, and this is Motivationeer Christian Coaching. This is not a patented system, although maybe in the future I'll make it because it is my system. I kind of, go through these steps myself and it turns out to work pretty well. I've been working on changing myself since I first realized how messed up I was. Back before I turned 20, to be honest. Okay. So I want to start with, before we get into the ways to get going into how we change ourselves, remember that a simple definition of being overwhelmed, like the idea of what do I change first? Overwhelmed is when we think all things hold the same priority. That's why we get anxious. It kind of floods into our system epinephrine, adrenaline, and that stress hormone doesn't work very well for us to kind of see things clearly. It kind of blocks us. So when we want to start going after changing something in ourselves, pick the one thing that we want to change and start with that, okay? I'm going to kind of go back to my notes in this long email I replied to this person who asked to kind of go with it from this 8-step process, okay? Process step number 1, of course, always begin by committing it to God. Lots of ways of doing that. One way that I love to do it is to ask God for wisdom. This is the James chapter 1, verse 5. If any of you lacks wisdom, he should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to him. This is one way that I commit it to God, by saying, I don't have the wisdom. God, please give it to me. You can do it also by just saying, Lord, I commit this to you. May it go well. May it glorify your name, in a type of prayer. However you want to do it, but start by committing it to the Lord. Step number 2 is to start journaling about it, writing in a journal about it. Now, some people kind of roll their eyes because journaling can be difficult for some. They get into a mindset of thinking, I've got to write pages when I journal. You don't. Sometimes you can just write a super short entry. But start journaling about the thing that you're choosing to start changing first. Write some general reflections about it. Not beating yourself up, but as if you're kind of on the outside looking at you in this way that you want to change yourself. I could probably provide you a link to where I get my journals, but this is the type of journal that I use. It's a Moleskine journal. That's one that's already full. I just started another one recently. I'm working on some other stuff. And, I use the one with the little tiny square lines, dots in it. You're not going to be able to see it, but maybe you will. And that allows me to kind of keep a straight line. I can list things, and that kind of works for me. That's kind of the weirdness of my highly conscientious mind. It's soft, it's big and open, easy to write in. The pen and ink works great, but you could do it a digital journal. You could do a voice journal. You could do a recording video journal if you want, but we want to journal about the thing that we choose to start wanting to change first. Number 3, do a search on Google or whatever search engine you use, how to change, and then fill in the blank of whatever that thing is you want to change. How to change getting so easily annoyed. How to change being passive at work. How to speak up more. How to assert myself. How to learn about finances in my job. How to develop executive presence. Whatever it is, type it into Google and then spend some time over the next weeks or months letting that information kind of wash over you. Read it. You don't have to ascribe to everything you read, but it'll start to inform you, and the left hemisphere of your brain will find patterns. Number 4, you can read many articles or books or watch podcasts or other people's opinions about this topic. Not the how to change it, but people who claim to be experts in the field of whatever you're trying to change, hear what they are talking about, how they do it. Again, this is separate than the previous step because you're not looking at and reading articles about how to change, but what people do that are doing this thing after they've already got there before you do, okay? Number 5, as you're reading what you typed into Google about how to change and listening to things in podcasts and reading articles and reviews in those previous 2 steps, write in your journal about those things that you're realizing. What is resonating with you? What's clicking? Eventually, you'll notice, this happens for everybody, it's kind of universally human. Eventually, something's going to click really loudly for you. It's going to be this moment of clarity after you've taken in enough information about it, and you're going to kind of be on your way. And then things will start really making sense. To get us to that clicking point sooner, journal as you're taking in information from these other sources. The next one, number 6, as you learn techniques or information about this, see if you can turn it into an actual technique. Maybe no one has created it as a technique, but make it a process. This thing that you've learned that's clicked for you, so that you don't just rely on it sticking with you after it's clicked, but you can actually make a step-by-step system that you can practice, tell other people, write it out and put it up on the wall, put it on your screensaver, get other people to help hold you accountable to it, tell your coach about it, get your coach to help hold you accountable to it. This little process, and then make it your process. Shawn's Law, the summer camp process for changing blah, blah, blah. That's yours. Own it, live it, put a little TM, trademark it. By the way, the shortcut code for a trademark is Alt, hold the Alt key, 0153. That's a freebie. Number 7, map out a specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound plan to incrementally get better. Start with whatever the thing is that you want to change. How often am I doing it and not liking that I'm doing it? And then I want to get to this new level. I don't want to do it but once a month. Write out a plan, goals, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound goals on how to get there. Some of what you've read in the previous steps is going to inform you on how to kind of create those goals. Your step process that you just wrote down in the previous section will be part of that. Maybe you put as a SMART goal, read this every morning 3 times before I go to work. Or, memorize this and state it out loud before I go to sleep each night. That might be part of your SMART goal system, but you'll add other little steps in there as well. And the last one, number 8, enjoy the ride. This is something we want to, perhaps it's required for us to intentionally do, is to say, you know what, this is part of my journey. I'm glad I'm on it. Thank you, God, for letting me have this area of weakness that I can boast about, right? When we are weak, then we're strong. We can boast in the Lord about our weakness, and He'll help you kind of get through it. If we are miserable about this process of wanting to change this thing, it's going to really not make the change enjoyable, and it increases the risk of us abandoning the change process. But if we really dig into mentally saying, you know what, I'm so glad I'm doing this. I'm going to love this. I'm going to enjoy this ride. That means you let go of the safety rail, put your arms up in the air and scream with delight and joy. Okay? Once you have done this for one main thing that you wanted to change, now you have a system to do it for the next thing in the top 10 things that ruin careers if you want to, or whatever that other change is. Please tell me if you have your own little system or process. I'd love to hear about it. Write it below. If you've used the thing that I'm teaching you to use, please also write about that. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe for 2 new videos each week. Tell me in the comments below about your career situation, and I'll make a video for you with a shout out. You can also become a member at Motivationeer.com. Your career is not just a way to make a living, it's a way to transform the world.